Hopefully this will get uploaded on the first day of autumn and then it'll make sense that it's called a summer wrap-up. And it'll look like that's what I planned all along. Truth is, I just missed the July and August wrap-ups, so I'm going to combine them into one and call it summer. The interesting thing about not doing my reviews as soon as I've read them is that it gives you some time to think about how you really feel about the book instead of the first impression. It's really interesting because a lot of books do kind of fade on me after a while. A lot of the ratings that I've given this summer are quite low in comparison to the ratings that I usually give. Like, for example, this first one. First book that I read in July was Paper Towns by John Green. In case you didn't know, Paper Towns is about a girl in high school who decides to disappear right before graduation, and the main character is determined to find her. I didn't really like the characters. The characters for me are what make a book sometimes, and I just didn't feel much for these characters. I was quite gripped in the beginning, and even though I didn't really agree with anything that they were doing in the beginning, I was quite entertained, and I was kind of entertained by the end, but the middle bit just kind of fell a bit flat for me. And even though I didn't really like the characters, I do have to give them props because they did kind of develop towards the end. I really liked the confrontation between the main character and his best friends, and I think that's probably my favourite moment in the entire book. So I gave this one 2 out of 5 stars. The second book that I finished in July was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I don't really know what else to say about this other than I really loved it. I did a review on it, so, well, it was kind of a review and kind of just my feelings on it, so I'll link that somewhere. It's just so easy to fall into the story with this one, and I just love all the characters and the way the plot works and how the story moves forward. I just love every single minute of it. I really love Harper Lee's writing style in this one. I think a good writing style is when it has a style to it but you just don't notice it. You can just slip into the story and forget that you're reading words on the page, and you just start seeing everything happen or feeling it or something. You just feel that atmosphere. That's when writing is really well done to me, and that's what Harper Lee does with this book. So 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in July was Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. I really didn't want to be disappointed by this book because I was told that she never wanted to publish another book because she said that she'd done a masterpiece or whatever with To Kill a Mockingbird, and so I was really nervous to pick this up. And I wouldn't say that I was disappointed, but I would say that you can not read this book and be absolutely fine. I wouldn't really recommend it. I would only recommend it if you really wanted to revisit the characters from To Kill a Mockingbird and see what happens to them when they grow up. I did find that aspect to it quite interesting, and there was a really powerful moment near the end of the book, but there was something missing with the writing as well, and in the end I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I did give it 3 out of 5 stars at first because the ending actually really kind of got to me, but overall I would say that the book is 2 out of 5 stars, having had some time to think about it. The next one that I finished in July was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I read this with Erica Chung for a buddy read, and it was really fun. We called it the Silent Bookish Duel. So we kind of read it, didn't tell each other what we thought of it, and then asked each other questions later on, and I found that really interesting. I really liked that experience. I also really enjoyed the book itself. I liked the story, I liked the characters, and I can't wait to see what happens to them next because there is another book coming out. I did a review on this one, so I'll link that somewhere here if you want to know more about the book in general and about my feelings on it. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars, but I think this is my favourite book that I read in July and August, except for To Kill a Mockingbird, but I read that one before, so I'm not counting that one. Moving on to August now. As you can probably tell, this was a pretty busy month for me. So I only managed to read 2 novellas and 1 volume of a comic. The first one I read was The Peculiar Life of a Lonely Postman by Dennis Thoreau. I read this one in like 3.5 hours or something like that on the train. It had been quite a while since I'd finished any kind of book, so it was really nice to just have something quite short to read. This one is about a postman who reads correspondence letters between a woman and a man. They write to each other using haiku, which is a type of Japanese poetry. And one day something happens to the man and our main character decides to take things into his own hands. The premise is quite dodgy, but the way it's written, you still judge him for what he does, obviously, but you don't really see it as malicious. The way it's written, he comes across as being quite sweet and innocent. I was really surprised by this one. I really enjoyed the writing style. It was quite a quaint, kind of old-fashioned type of writing style that is just really easy to get into, and I always find it quite comforting for some reason. I really liked some of the haiku, and there's a section in the middle where there's quite a lot of them, and it gets pretty intense. If you've read it, you'll know what I mean. And the ending of this one took a turn that I was not expecting at all. I was really pleasantly surprised by how everything links together in the end. So I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. So I read that last one going home on the train, and I read this one on the way back to London. So this is Fear and Trembling by Amelie Nothomb. I'm going to leave a link to a review that I did of The Character of Rain by her because I just think that book is fantastic. This one I didn't really enjoy as much, but I still enjoyed it. I wanted to take it with me to London because it's about a woman who is going to her first proper job in Japan, and after reading this I just thank God that the people that I work for are actually quite nice and not like this at all. With Amelie Nothomb, she writes things that are supposed to be autobiographical, but you're never quite sure what's the truth and what's not. I can say that if you're not a fan of books where nothing very much happens, I wouldn't pick up this one. Not a lot really happens, apart from people are really horrible to her. But somehow it isn't a depressing book. I quite enjoyed reading it, although I wouldn't be able to really pick out anything that really stood out to me about it. So I also gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. And the last thing that I read in August was Captain Marvel Volume 1 In Pursuit of Flight. So this one came out a couple of years ago, before the recent run of Captain Marvel. So I wanted to pick this one up because I wanted to see if it kind of had more of her background and more of her backstory in there, which it's not what I was expecting. I got a little bit confused with this one. It's very much to do with time travel, and the whole thing just kind of really confused me, and maybe I'm just not used to comic book logic yet. I didn't enjoy the art as much because I feel like it's a little bit more sexualised, and maybe that's because it came out a couple of years ago and the more recent ones have toned it down a bit. I did enjoy the fact that there was a group of female pilots from World War II involved in this story and it was kind of like reading about a female version of the Howling Commandos, so that was pretty cool. I still really like Carol Danvers as a character, although she can be a little bit dramatic at times, I think. But overall, this volume didn't really do much for me, so I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. So there we go, that's everything that I read this summer. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them and any recommendations based on them. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye!